Hi everyone, it's Ben Adams with the American Offset Mortgage and welcome back to the channel. Now today, I want to talk about something that over 80% of United States households either use or have, and is the underlying foundation of our US economy. Can you guess what it is? I'm talking about credit cards. And did you know that over 70% of our United States economy is driven by consumer spending? Right now in the US, there's over $1 trillion in credit card debt. So understanding a credit card, learning how credit cards work is extremely important. I've had a lot of questions from friends, from business associates recently on, should I have a credit card? What is the best way to use a credit card? When should I use a credit card? Is it important for building credit? How can I use it for rewards? And so today I wanted to answer some of those questions and just share with everyone what I've learned, how I'm using credit cards, what you should use credit cards for, and then also what you should not do and what you should watch out for. Now, the number one most important things with credit cards is how do you play the credit card game? Now, these financial institutions like Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and so many others, they're so eager to give you and to give the consumer a credit card to use, but what they're not doing is they're not giving you the playbook. They're not giving you directions on how to use it, on how to manage it correctly. There's also not a lot of education out there. And so you as a consumer, you really want to make sure that you are aware and knowledgeable and understand what you should do and what you should not do when using a credit card. Now, there are a lot of pundits and critics out there, especially in the financial circle, people like Dave Ramsey, who are against using credit cards at all and ever. And the reason for that, the reason that Dave is so passionate about that is because there are several reasons why he believes that. But among them is, number one, Americans, they don't know how to use credit cards. There's no education. Number two, a lot of us in America, we struggle with impulse control. We don't understand and practice appropriate financial behavior. We're very emotional with our spending. When we use credit cards, we spend without realizing what we're doing, what we're spending on, and why we're doing it. So there's not a lot of thought behind our spending and why we're using that. And that's some of the reasons that Dave feels that. And when it comes to financial behavior, that's also something that is really, really important because there is so little education out there in regards to credit cards. A lot of Americans, they get their card in the mail and they start using it. They start racking up credit card debt and they're not asking themselves these really important questions and they don't really know how to play the game. So number one, you have to know how to play the credit card game if that's something that you decide to do. And as I said earlier, over 80% of US households use credit cards. Now, number two, there are certain things that you should avoid when using credit cards. The biggest mistake that most people make when using credit cards is they don't pay off their balance in full each and every month. And if you're not paying your balance off, what that means is that you're essentially financing all of your consumer spending. So if you aren't paying your credit card balance off in full each and every month, every time that you go to the grocery store or the shoe store or buy something online, it means that you're financing that. And when you finance that, you are going to pay interest on it. And one of the big negatives with credit cards is the interest rates are astronomical. I'm talking over 20, 25, close to 30%. So that is why it's critical that you understand as a consumer, the number one rule when it comes to credit cards is you have to pay your balance off in full each and every month. And there should never be any exceptions around that. If you don't do that, what can happen is you won't pay off your balance. And then because the interest rates are so high, that interest cost will then get tacked on at the end of every month. And then all of a sudden that credit card debt and those balances can start to rise and go up and up and up. And then the interest that accrues will also go up and up and up. And it gets more expensive, more costly. And this is where people get into trouble. So you have to make sure that you're paying off your credit card balance in full each and every month. Another concern along the same lines is that I hear a lot of people and they're just making the minimum payment every month on their credit cards. When you are making the minimum payment, that is absolutely one of the worst things that you could do. And if you are making the minimum payment, what that means is you should not be using a credit card. Credit cards are designed to have the consumer make a minimum payment because it's easy. It's easy to only pay a couple $100. But if you have all this credit card debt, you are never going to get out of it. That's what the financial institutions want you to do. They want you to make the minimum payments on your credit cards. Do you know why? So you can make them rich, by paying them 20 or 30%. Never make the minimum payment and always pay off your credit card balance in full every month. And it's a must. You have to do that. And then another concern with credit cards is that here in the United States, we are so emotional with our spending. Now, the consumer, as I shared earlier, makes up 70% of the United States economy. So when consumers spend, it's great for the economy. It's great for the United States. It's great for the marketplace, but it's terrible for the individual US consumer if they're spending and putting everything on a credit card and then not paying that off. So you have to remember, these credit card institutions, these financial institutions, the reason that they are giving you these credit cards is so you can go spend, so you can go drive profits for them, so you can stimulate the economy. But you have to ask yourself, what is going on in my personal economy? What am I doing in my personal economy? And am I managing my credit cards responsibly? And so if you do struggle with emotional spending, unplanned spending, if you are challenged with your financial behavioral discipline, where you're going to go buy stuff with your credit card that if you had to pay cash for, you wouldn't, you're going to want to stop right there and really reconsider, is this tool, the credit card, the most appropriate thing for me to be using? And if you do struggle with emotional purchases, if you don't have that financial discipline, you probably shouldn't be using a credit card. Or what you need to go do is educate yourself more and learn the game, learn what to do, what not to do, and watch more videos like this. And one other thing that a lot of Americans struggle with when it comes to credit card usage is they don't have a monthly plan for their budget. And so, ask yourself, the word budget is like the word diet. Everyone always thinks of diet as, I need to go on a diet to lose all this weight or get back in shape. And that's really not what a diet should be. A diet should be something that is a consistent, healthy, nutritious way of living and eating, the foods that you eat, what you consume, and budgeting is the same way. But people always talk about budgeting, and they put it in such a negative light. And the reality is that all of us should have a budget, and having a budget and being mindful of your budget is something that is very financially healthy. And if you don't have a budget, it means that you don't have a plan. And a lot of times when Americans use their credit cards, they don't have a budget, so they don't have a plan with their money. And so they're just spending. And a lot of times they don't even know what they're spending on.